Hey guys, so this video is for our kindergarten through 4th grade leaders for October week 1. I am not sure how it's October already, but this month is going to be a great month. We are learning about the life app of individuality this month. And individuality is discovering who you're meant to be so you can make a difference. So our little intro says, God is one of a kind with no beginning and no end. Everything God has created is unique and one of a kind, including people created in God's image. Every person is an original reflection of God in how they love, care for others, imagine, create, and solve problems. To see how we can do this well, we should look to Jesus. Jesus showed us what it means to be created in God's image in the way he loved all people and helped people feel like they had value, no matter who they were or what they had done. We can reflect as we discover who we're meant to be and live out the individuality God has given us. So this week we are jumping into Genesis and we're hearing the story of how we are made in the image of God, and our bottom line is you were made in God's image. So this says, in our first week we start at the beginning, literally. In Genesis 1 we read that when God created people, God did something special. We reflect God's image to the world, and this doesn't mean that we physically look like God. Instead, we demonstrate what God is like in the way we create and imagine, show love and kindness, seek justice, and offer mercy. We get to fill the earth with God's goodness, each in our own individual way. So our bottom line, we were made in God's image. We hope to help kids understand that being made in the image of God means we can love, show kindness, be creative, solve problems, and care for others, all because we reflect and respond to God's character. Kids will get to explore how they can reflect God's image to the people in their world. Awesome. And our memory verse for this month is, let me see if I remember it. Oh, how you made me. We're going to do head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So how you made me is amazing and wonderful. I praise you for that. What you have done is wonderful. I know that very well. Psalm 139:14. So how you made me, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, is amazing and wonderful. I praise you for that. What you have done is wonderful. I know that very well. Psalm 139:14. So jumping into our leader guide for today, as kids roll in, make sure that you say a prayer for them. Just that they would understand that God made them uniquely to be amazing and wonderful, and just that God can help kids discover that individuality and how it relates to how God created them. And then as kids roll in, invite kids to describe their favorite animal without saying its name. So like, my favorite animal loves to swing from trees and eat bananas. And then when service starts, what you're going to do is a little mash-up opening activity. So these are going to be cut out and in a baggie for you. But there's going to be all these different types of animals, and you're going to pass the bag around, and kids will pick out 2 animals. And then our older kids, if you want to let them all pick 2 out together, they can try to draw the animal, this little mashup of an animal. Our younger kids can act out the mashup of an animal. So if you get a dog fox, what would a dog fox look like? Or an octopus fox, how would that look? So it should be kind of silly. You might kind of have to help them. They can talk about what it would look like even, but just thinking about how animals are all unique and they all kind of have these unique characteristics. If that's too complicated for our kindergarten or first graders, you could just have them pull out 1 animal at a time and act out that animal for the kids to guess. And then you'll just say, you guys made up some interesting creatures, and not only were they totally unique, but you gave them something special that's like you. They have something special that reflects their creator. And those would be some proud and fantastical creatures. So we're going to head to large group to hear how we reflect our creator too. And then you'll head to large group to hear about how God made us in his image. When you get back, one review activity that you can do is called In His Image. And so each kid is going to take home a package of Wiki sticks today. If you've never used these, they're just these like little wax sticks that are really bendable. We have one for every kid, and what you're going to do is you're going to say, our God who made the world and everything in it also made you. And the Bible tells us that we were all created in the image of God, and that means you were made to be like him. So what's God like? Is he kind? Yes. Is he patient? Yes. Joyful? Yes. Loving? Yes. When God made us in his image, he made us to be kind, good, patient, joyful, and loving too. And the more time you spend with God, the more you become like him. So how can you spend time with God? Read the Bible, listen to stories, learn Bible verses, go to church. Tell kids about how you spend time with God and how that's helped make you more like him. And then say, do you guys know what? We're all made so that others can see God and his love through us. You guys were made in God's image. So say that with me. You were made in God's image. So what they're going to do is they are going to use these wiki sticks to make people. And they can make people however they want. And then just kind of talk about this conversation, how they're made in God's image as they use the wiki sticks to make people, and they can take these home. Oh, see, there's a little guy right there that they can use as an example. All right. The next activity is called Candy Characteristics, and this is another option you can use if you have time. What you're going to do is you're going to give each kid a Candy Characteristics card. So these are the different candies. Our theme this month kind of has a candy theme, which goes great with Halloween. And so then what you're going to do is you're going to tell kids not to show their card to anybody, and you're going to go around the circle and let each kid take a turn with playing a game of 20 questions. So you're going to have to kind of whisper to some of the kids that are in kindergarten to kind of help them. So you're going to have the group take turns asking the kid with the card yes or no questions. Is it chocolate? Is it fruity? And so on. And when the group guesses the candy or runs out of questions, you'll have the kids share. And you'll say, wow, you guys really know your candy. How did we eventually figure out each person's candy? Yeah, by thinking what their candy was like. So calling a candy sweet or hard or melty, it's naming its characteristics. And characteristics are words that tell us what the candy is like. Well, God has characteristics too. Can you name some of those characteristics that we shared earlier? And then talk about some of the characteristics of God. And just say, God made everyone to reflect his characteristics to the world. But since he made us all different, we all reflect him using our different gifts and abilities. So then talk about what's a way that you reflect God's creativity and your individuality. And then in the same way, you guys were made in God's image. Then for our memory verse game, you're going to divide your group into 2 teams, and you're going to give each team a different colored dry erase marker. And you're going to we're going to just have like a full-length mirror that you in your room that you can set up. And you're going to just make sure it's sturdily placed propped up against the wall, or you could even lay it on the floor. You're going to read the memory verse, find it in the Bible, practice it with those motions that we did at the beginning, and then you can leave the Bibles open down by the mirror. And you're going to have, maybe for our kindergartners or first graders, you just focus on learning the memory verse, practicing it with the motions. We'll have a mirror and dry erase markers in your room if you think they can do this, but this might be a lot for them to write it out, so maybe just practice the verse with motions lots of times. For our bigger kids, you're going to direct each kid to take their marker, run to the mirror, write one word from the verse, and then they're going to run back. The second kid will go write the second word of the verse, and so on, and be a little relay race until the verse is completely written, including the reference, Psalm 139:14, and then they win. So then you're just going to say, why do you guys think we used a mirror for this game? Well, mirrors show ourselves. They reflect our image. And just like mirrors reflect our image, we are meant to reflect God's image because you were made in God's image. God made you on purpose to show the world something important about himself. So maybe you reflect God's patience when you play with your younger siblings, or you reflect his kindness when your older siblings are taking care of you and you show them some respect. Some optional questions for our older kids. How has someone reflected God's image to you this week? How have you reflected it to someone else? What is the most important characteristic of God that you could reflect to someone, and why? And what do you think is the coolest part about being made in God's image? And then to close down in prayer, you're just going to use this little conversation guide below to guide kids in prayer. So just in all of God's creation, no one could think, love, feel like he could. So God made Adam and Eve to be like him. And he made them to be good and kind and patient and loving, and he made them in his image. And you were made in God's image too. So how you were made is amazing and wonderful, and God loves you more than you can imagine. So let's pray. And then lead the kids in prayer, and as you pray, say each kid's name and thank God for making them amazing and wonderful. So God, I thank you today for Trip. Thank you for making Trip amazing and wonderful. God, we thank you for making Gus amazing and wonderful. And so on. So that is it for this week, guys. Super fun week. Make sure you ask your kids if they all got a memory verse poster. There's extra September stickers on the parent wall, and this week all of our kids will get their October stickers to take home and put on their posters. So make sure all your kids have one. We have lots of extras. Thank you guys so much for serving. You're amazing. I'm so grateful for all of you. Love you, love you, love you, and we'll see you on Sunday.